The College Football Playoff Committee stirs up controversy, and the ACC is front and center. Let's bring in the squad.
You're talking ball with the ACC Squad. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC Squad.
The CFP just can't keep their logic straight, and we have plenty to talk about. Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making the Locked On ACC Squad your first listen. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. We're available on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcasting network, and this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download FanDuel today. We'll look at Week 13 in college football with Georgia Tech has an opportunity to clinch an ACC Championship Game berth. We'll talk about James Franklin landing at Virginia Tech and why it's a home run, despite what you may think about James Franklin. But, folks, let's talk about this CFP controversy. I am Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. I almost feel like I should recuse myself from this conversation, but that's not going to happen. We got Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone from Locked On Wolfpack. We got Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels. Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse. So there's also points of inconsistencies, fellas, with what the new committee chair, Yurachek, is saying about, Virginia. Why Virginia? They get penalized for a loss to Louisville that now looks worse because Louisville's no longer ranked, but yet BYU does not get penalized, Virginia, that was a win over Louisville, excuse me. Meanwhile, Oregon has a win over Penn State that still looks great to the committee because of Penn State's preseason ranking, even though that team is completely tanked. And then you've got the Miami situation. And let me, Kenton Gibbs, I'll let you buy the first round on this one. Miami is ranked 5 spots behind the Notre Dame, 4 spots behind the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, despite the head-to-head win. Similar strength of record, similar strength of schedule, and yet, the committee feels Notre Dame is that much more impressive.
See, Dono, you're doing this all wrong. You're doing this by on-the-field logic. Who won football games? Who lost football? Hush, winch, man. Nobody cares about that stuff. Who is Oregon's most famous living alum?
Phil Knight.
Phil Knight, by a mile, right? Why wouldn't you want them in the playoff? That's Nike, baby. The school of 1,000 uniforms. You got to find a way to put them in. So what if their best win is over a Penn State team whose head coach is now headed to Blacksburg? What is that? Hey, Miami beat Notre Dame. I'm sorry. Does Miami have an exclusive TV deal with anybody? Is Miami exclusively covered by one channel? Oh, okay. So get out of here, you dweebs. Go back to your little Coral Gables. Go back to your little nice little beaches and whatnot. Go back to Vice City and have all the fun there. But this is not for you. This is not. The playoff ain't about who can win football games. It's not about what teams are good. It's about who has the famous alums. It's about who draws the eyes. It's about who has the best TV deals. And I'm sorry to tell you, Dono. I'm sorry to tell you, Isaac. Sorry to tell you, Grayson. Sorry to tell you, Jackson, even though none of our teams are close. None of us meet the criteria. In the words of Isaiah Thomas, Louisville and Virginia meet the qualifications to be chosen, but they won't be. It will never be you. It will never be you. You got to get in by winning the ACC championship or else. Because again, Donald, we don't have Georgia here. We don't have Bama here. We don't have, not in the fact of whether or not they're good teams or not, because Bama just lost to Oklahoma, but it's about whether or not
they lost to Florida State by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that one was worse.
Yeah.
I mean, Oklahoma's actually pretty good. Florida State is terrible.
Yeah,
Dono,
but you get the point.
Dono, here's Miami's problem, and I wish you could talk to the coaching staff about maybe fixing this next year. You guys lost too late in the season. That's my biggest thing. If you had been smart like Notre Dame, you would have got your losses out of the way right out of the gate, and then you would have been fine because you would go on a winning streak after it. It's all about when you lose. If you lose at the wrong time later in the season, well, then you got to work your way back up the rankings as other teams lose and fall down. Notre Dame loses their first 2 games, but they've been able to go on a winning streak ever since. So they're just letting other teams fall as they lose, and they just keep working their way up. That, my friend, is the Hurricanes' biggest sin, is losing at the wrong time.
Yeah, 100%. And then the wonder if they have enough time, as you mentioned, to climb back into it. And I don't take for granted the fact that Miami still has 2 more games to win, right? If they lose to either of Virginia Tech or Pittsburgh, the conversation is moot, and they're no longer going to even deserve to be in that CFP formula and conversation. I get that. But if Miami takes care of business, and they've looked better their last couple of games. I mean, sorry to Kenton and Grayson. Miami just put up their most complete performance of the season against NC State. And I think the committee did notice that because they leapfrogged Miami over Vanderbilt despite Vandy not having any new losses. So at least the committee has shown you they are as consistently inconsistent as Miami football is over the years. The committee just kind of makes it up as they go along. So yeah, it's possible that if Miami were to hypothetically dominate Virginia Tech this weekend, which probably should happen given the state that the Hokies are in right now. James Franklin won't be coaching this weekend, by the way. And then if Miami is able to score a dominant win in their season finale against Pittsburgh, which won't be easy, but if Miami can dominate these 2 games, then maybe the committee has already shown you know what? Yeah, we had Miami ranked behind BYU and Utah, and the Utah thing is a real head scratcher because their best win is against Arizona State, not the Sam Leavitt Arizona State, the Jeff Sims Arizona State. That's their best win, right? And you could say their losses are good. Like, oh, Utah's got losses to BYU, who's ranked, and Texas Tech, who's awesome. They lost to Texas Tech by 24 points. Like, they didn't belong on the same field with that team. So maybe the committee might say if Miami wins 2 more games impressively, you know what? Maybe you should be in front of Utah. Maybe you should be in front of BYU. Maybe you should be in front of Notre Dame. Maybe they'll actually start to take that head-to-head seriously, but I'm not holding my breath.
Why the hell is who you lost to this important? Why are we valuing losses this much? I'm so confused. When did it become like, hey, you just need to schedule good teams, get your brains beat out by good teams, and you're all right? Is this basketball? Is this Isaac's time to shine? Are we talking quad 1 losses? What's happening?
This is essentially what is happening now.
Yeah.
It's preposterous that Notre Dame is almost being rewarded for a good loss, whereas Miami is almost being penalized for winning that game that they were previously talking about. If the results on the field don't matter, then what are we doing here? It's purely just a beauty pageant. Last thing, we talked about NC State getting their face beat in by Miami. I've seen people use NC State as a buffer between Notre Dame and Miami because Miami beat us by a couple more points than Notre Dame did. What are you saying screw me for? Leave us out of it. But they're building a resume here. I actually think they will win the last 2 games of the season, and I find it hard to believe that they're going to be left out 10-2, especially if they win those games with some style points.
And the problem is, it's not, let's all remember, it's not just about getting to 12th. You got to get to 10th if you want to be in at large, right? And so that's part of the issue here that we're looking at, because you're going to have a G5 team that's going to be the 12th seed and probably the ACC champion, who, unless this bunch of stuff breaks right for Miami's not even going to be in that game. So if the Hurricanes want to make this thing, they got to jump not just from 13 to 12, but 13 all the way to 10. And that's where it's like the committee feels like they're gatekeeping with these groups that have different sort of credentials that others don't. And so keep that in mind critically as well.
I think
that's another part of Miami's problem is and again, like, it just feels like even scheduling Notre Dame was so pointless because you don't get any credit for actually beating them. They get credit for losing to you. Right. You don't get credit for beating them. So, like, you look back at the situation Miami's in where, Miami's 2 losses are against conference opponents. You would think beating Notre Dame would be a big deal, but Miami would have been better off losing to Notre Dame and beating SMU. Like, if you could trade those 2 losses, Miami would be in a better situation had they lost to the Irish, beaten the Mustangs, because then Miami would be firmly in the ACC Championship conversation and a chance at an auto bid.
You know what Miami could have just done instead? Because someone finally just has to say it, because it's not that I disagree with any of you guys about the college football playoff and all the committee, but Miami they didn't have to lose to Louisville. They didn't have to lose to SMU. I'm sorry.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You didn't have to lose those games. Miami, yeah, it's a rigged system. Oh my goodness.
Jackson, you're suggesting
learning that it's rigged, win your games.
You're suggesting that Miami's best course of action was to have not lost, that they should have won?
It's revolutionary.
Yes, because I'm not going to sit here and cry over teams that are on the bubble. If you're on the bubble, the problem is that you are on the bubble. That's the problem. You got to get away from the bubble. Win your games.
Jackson, Aloysius Hosier. That does not make sense.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense? They have 2 losses.
You are saying
they lost to Louisville and SMU.
So does Notre Dame. How does having 2 losses? How are you saying just win your games to Miami when them and Notre Dame played and they did?
Kenton, it's already a rigged system against you, so you have to beat the rigged system.
I wish it were that easy. Let's just win all of our games next time. Okay, I'll let Mario Cristobal know.
Win your games and leave no doubt. What
they beat the team that's rigging the system.
Thank you.
Thank you. The rigged system.
I'm sorry, but I've never.
It's like we did this last year with March Madness, and we do it every year with March Madness, trying to decipher what bubble teams should get in and what teams shouldn't get in. And we talk about this is rigged, that's rigged, whatever the case may be. It's an imperfect system. There are clearly teams that get more favoritism than others. That is very, very obvious. I acknowledge that. So the way around it is very simple. Don't lose to Louisville. Don't lose to SMU. Guess what? You're undefeated and playing for a chance to go to the ACC title game, where guess what? If you win the ACC, you don't have to worry about a committee because you're automatically in the playoff anyway. So this is Miami's fault. That's what it is. Solution. Miami lost 2 games. They lost them later in the year when we all know, as Isaac pointed out, that recency bias matters. I'm not going to cry over it. You're on the bubble.
I'm not mad at win your games if they have a worse record. People are discussing the possibility of a 4-loss Texas in the playoffs, and you're telling me that the solution is to win your games.
Texas is not good. They're not getting in.
I agree that they shouldn't get in. But guess what, Jackson? You're talking about an imperfect system that we know is rigged, and guess who had their own damn network? Along with Notre Dame, the Longhorn Network. Guess who has the biggest fan base? And you can't even name the most famous Texas fan, because even if you say Matthew McConaughey, there's a bunch of other very famous and rich people who are Texas fans. This is ridiculous.
Miami wouldn't draw ratings in a college football playoff now.
Not Texas ratings.
Maybe not Texas, but they wouldn't draw ratings either.
Not Texas ratings, not Notre Dame ratings either.
Okay, but are they drawing more than BYU and Utah?
Yes, but here's the thing. I can explain that to you. The reason why the committee has BYU and Utah in front of Miami is they need to create the buffer between Miami and Notre Dame, because the committee has said it. Their logic, the way that they grade teams is they grade them 3 at a time. They have comparative pools. And so what the committee said was, well, we can't count Miami's head-to-head against Notre Dame because they're separated by too many spots. They're not in the same comparative pool. Well, how do you make sure they're separated by more than 2 spots? You rank BYU and Utah in front of them.
And it feels like one of the things the committee...
I understand that the college football committee is just ridiculous, but my counter to it is very simple. If they had not lost to Louisville, had they not lost to SMU, they're not having this conversation. We weren't having the conversation about Miami last year with the college football playoff up until they lost the final game of the season, because they had 1 loss in the regular season and they were firmly in the college football playoff. It's that simple. If you have only 1 loss at this point of the year and you're in the ACC and you are the Miami Hurricanes, you would be safely in the college football playoff right now. You wouldn't have anything to worry about as long as you won out in the regular season. But you have 2 losses, You are in the ACC. We already know the ACC is not going to get a single ounce of favoritism by the committee. So
that's
instead
the
of complaining
problem,
about
though.
it,
Like you're saying that as if that's okay.
You're asking a system to change that will not change because the people that are running the system don't want the system to change, and it's not going to change. Why do they care about the ACC? They don't. So you don't give them a choice and you win your games.
Brother, the ACC is in an abusive relationship with the committee, and
so we should just get out of it.
Your idea is just cook better food. That's not gonna work. It's not how it works. Everybody should just go undefeated, and that way we'd have a bunch of teams. Meanwhile, we're watching other conferences have 4 lost teams that people are discussing
Texas
being
right
in.
now is ranked 17. They are not getting in the college football playoff. They are not going to leapfrog that many spots now in the playoff.
But you know what's funny? Everybody's saying if they beat Texas A&M, they got to be in.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But if they do, we've seen Marcel Reed put on some stinkers.
South Carolina almost beat Texas A&M.
I don't think they're going to beat Texas A&M. Second of all, if they beat Texas A&M, I still don't think they're going to get it.
Okay. All right.
Well, when we come back, we have a new head coach in Blacksburg, and Virginia Tech could not have done any better than they just did. I know people have their feelings about James Franklin, but this is a grand slam for the Hokies. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of the ACC Squad. I know you're only getting started with FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on that action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you so much for making the ACC Squad your first listen. I'm Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. We got Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone from Locked On Wolfpack, Isaac Shade from Locked On Tar Heels, Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse. All right, so finally, guys, it became final on Monday. We heard weeks about the possibility of James Franklin to Virginia Tech. We were wondering if Franklin might be holding out for a quote-unquote bigger job to come open, but the Hokies were able to get it over the finish line. And first and foremost, guys, I'm a big recruiting nerd, and that's an area. James Franklin is not only a hell of a recruiter, but he's a hell of a recruiter in that area, the DMV area. He's got a great track record there. So geographically right away, James Franklin, who's a proven program builder, like he made the standards so high at Penn State that they're able to fire the guy 1 year removed from a Final Four college football playoff appearance because he was no longer meeting the standard that he created at Penn State after all the scandals and the fall from grace that program had. So I'll let Jackson buy the first round on this one because Franklin may not be a perfect college football head coach, but given where Virginia Tech's program is right now, they could not have done any better than this.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. I mean, this was a home run hire. This was the perfect hire for Virginia Tech, and it's just like, well, welcome back. Welcome back, Virginia Tech. We missed you. It's been a long time since they've been relevant in the ACC. It really has been. I'm a Syracuse fan, and they like to recruit in the DMV area too, so I'm also not exactly thrilled that James Franklin's now in that area. But in terms of the ACC, they need more, very clearly. They need more good teams. They need someone that they can crown at the top. And I think that's ultimately the ceiling of Virginia Tech. I do believe that Virginia Tech could be that team that we look at as the standard in the ACC going forward. I don't know if that's going to be as soon as next year, but that could be down the line with James Franklin because we have seen what he did at Penn State in creating one of the best programs in the Big Ten while he was there. We also saw what he did with Vanderbilt, not in the transfer portal era, by the way. That's right. He had that program be very successful too. He's a great recruiter. He is a really good coach. He has his flaws. He's got a well-earned reputation of not being able to win the big game. But that being said, Virginia Tech hasn't played in a lot of big games in a while because you got to be good to play in those big games. And he is someone that can definitely elevate the floor of Virginia Tech. And he also gives them a ceiling of maybe being able to compete for college football playoff appearances year in and year out. This is a home run hire.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Home run hire. And, I think that his inability to win big games is greatly overstated. Again, pull up any coach's record against the top 10. Who's crushing it against the top 10? Georgia? Bama? That's it. That's about it.
Jeff Brom.
Jeff Brom. Jeff Brom. Of course, but don't ask his record against Kentucky. I'm joking. He does just fine against Kentucky. But the reality of this thing is, I honestly don't think that this was a slam dunk hire for Virginia Tech. I think that he would have been a slam dunk hire wherever. I don't think there's a single job available right now where I would say you're going to do better than James Franklin. I'm going to look back at this hire, and I feel like I knew coming in you would do better than James Franklin. Now, are there people who potentially have a ceiling over James Franklin? Absolutely. You look at Summerall and you say he could have a ceiling that's higher than James Franklin. Absolutely. You say he could, but you also are going up against the fact that he is unproven as a Power 4 head coach. That's right. Just a fact. That's just a fact. You go in and say, some of these coordinators could be really big names. They can be really good guys. Sure. But the reality is, for all of those coordinators that can be really good, none of them have had to run a Power 4 program. He brought Vanderbilt from being a baseball school to respectable at football, and then he messed around and took. Do y'all know who the head coach of Penn State was before my boy Franklin? Go ahead, Donald. Who was it?
Bill O'Brien.
Did they win very much with Bill O'Brien?
No.
Of course not. He's Bill O'Brien. Nobody wins a lot with Bill O'Brien as your head coach. So
not Boston College, that's for sure.
Not Boston College, not nobody except the Texans when they had Deshaun Watson at quarterback, but we ain't going to get into that right now. So the reality of this thing is very, very simple. James Franklin is a hell of a hire. Like y'all already talked about, he is going to be a great recruiter. And I want you to look at this as the biggest difference. Look at LSU's class, look at Florida's class, and look at Penn State's class. All three no longer have coaches. Only one of those three schools, all the recruits said, actually, I think I'm good here. I think we're all set.
It's crazy. Like all of their guys have either decommitted, flipped, or they're opening up their it's insane. Like everyone was like, no Franklin, I'm out.
Yep. Again, let's go get them. Penn State is about to go through their Nebraska after Bo Pelini era. They just they didn't know it. They thought that they were still that girl. You're not anymore, honey. It's not the 80s. The updos are out. It's not that time anymore. Joe Paul, God rest his soul. He ain't walking through that door, but I digress.
3 quick things. When Virginia Tech is good, it's good for college football. They have not been that since Frank Beamer left. We need it. Number 2, this is good for all of us in our schools. When you look at James Franklin, who is a phenomenal, everything you guys have already said, the fact that an ACC school is getting him, I think speaks volumes about what he thinks about that program and what it's going to ultimately mean for the ACC and recruits that are going to come. I love that. Thirdly, and most importantly, I hope we get some more Keegan-Michael Key impressions of Coach Franklin in Virginia Tech garb. That's the most important thing that's going to happen out of this.
I think the last thing that hasn't been mentioned up until this point, Virginia Tech a couple weeks ago also announced they're dumping like $230 million into their athletic program, and you have to figure the football program is probably get the massive portion of that pie. Yep. This is going to be a quick turnaround for James Franklin. They're going to be really good, really fast. They could be near the top of the league like as soon as next season. I think no exaggeration. This will not take long at all.
I think it's just harder in football to be able to turn over a roster year over year and be successful than it is in basketball. But I think
it's very easy. It's so easy. Just bring in 70 new dudes and you're good.
Watch this. Right? When you do the number breakdown.
Good job, Isaac.
When you do the number breakdown on it, the absolute max for revenue share is how much, guys?
20 and a half billion.
20 and a half.
20 and a half.
Go up for next year, though.
So we'll round up. So we'll round up over the course of the next 4 years and say that the average will be about $24 million, right? Grayson just said that they're dumping in $200 million. So even after hitting max salary allowance or max revenue share, rather, I'm sorry, not salary allowance, because they're amateurs. max revenue sharing, you still have $30 million left over. I mean, this is something unlike anything that I think we've seen in recent history, because so many other teams around the country are bleeding out money. With all due respect to Florida State, that's a job that's probably going to be open, and they've had to pay for reconstruction of their field. They're about to have to pay for a massive buyout. They've got a lot to pay, and meanwhile, Virginia's like, hey, we like those guys in Blacksburg. Let's give them some money. It's a really good time to be a Hokie fan.
Well, it's a good time to be an ACC fan, despite all the chaos in the conference. But we've got a big matchup coming up this weekend, guys, between Georgia Tech and Pitt. It's an ACC Championship Game eliminator. We'll tell you who wins when we come back. You want to keep it locked right here to the ACC Squad. Thank you so much for making us your first listen. We're so proud to be a part of this Locked On Podcast Network. We recently became number one sports podcast network, and I'm happy that all five of us on the screen, have played our part in that, but it's really about the everydayers. It's about you guys who tune into our shows each and every day, whether it's Locked On Tar Heels with Isaac, whether it's Locked On Wolfpack with Kenton and Grayson, Locked On Syracuse with Jackson, Locked On Canes with me. We appreciate the support that you guys give to us. Now, fellas, this coming Saturday, 7 p.m., good prime time slot on ESPN. 16th ranked Georgia Tech is going to be hosting Pitt. I think the fact that Georgia Tech is only favored by 2.5 at home tells you how close the odds makers and the betting public think this one is going to be. Now, Georgia Tech can clinch their spot in the ACC Championship Game with a win. If Pittsburgh wins, they still need a little bit of help, but if they lose, they're eliminated. So this is an ACC Championship Game eliminator. Georgia Tech can seal their deal this weekend. Both teams have had recent down performances. Pitt, they wanted to lose by Notre Dame to 100 so Narduzzi could focus on the conference games. Here you are. This is the conference game you are focusing on. So who do you think wins this weekend and why? And whoever wants to buy the first round, by all means.
Grayson,
I'll go first. I'll go first because I made this pick 2 weeks prior to right now, and I'm not coming off of it. I think Pitt's going to win this football game. And I'll tell you one thing even further. If you want a general idea of how I think this game will go, watch the Georgia Tech NC State game. I think it's going to be high scoring. Georgia Tech has shown they can't stop anyone, not even Boston College last weekend. Narduzzi, he's been hiding those cards up his sleeve. Now's the time, brother. If you're going to get blown out by Notre Dame but focus on the ACC games, now's your time. I think Pitt's going to get this done. They're going to knock Georgia Tech out, and SMU's going to beat Louisville, and SMU's going to rise up to Charlotte.
Ooh. My brother and Jim Valvano on this. No, that ain't happening. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. Pitt has upset the football gods. They've upset them. You know why? This thought of, we could get beat by 100. We just need to figure it out. Anytime teams do stuff like that when they need help, it always turns out that one of the funny things happens. So they may win this game because I do think that the Sharks had the worst week I've ever seen from them as a linebacking core.
Yeah.
I mean, there were multiple plays where Kyle Lewis is right there and Jeremiah Love makes him look like, hey, this guy ain't playing in the NFL. He needs to go learn some accounting. He needs to learn some enterprise rental car real quick. But I do think that they'll be better.
They'll pick you up.
Yeah, they will. They will. And I'm going to tell you.
Put you down, too.
I was just about to say, Kyle Lewis picked people up and put them down, except last week. He said, I'm good. I'm Montaleo doing all the putting you down I need. So with that in mind, I think that Pitt has a shot in this game because they stopped the run well. That's what Georgia Tech does best. If you force Georgia Tech to throw the ball, that's where things get a little bit dicey for them. But I think the biggest thing is that instilling of a loser's mentality, that instilling of like, we could lose by 30. This is fine with us. That never bodes well for a team, especially not late in the season. So I'm picking Georgia Tech solely because the pride of the ACC is hanging in the balance here. You can't let Pitt win.
Well, and even if Pitt wins this weekend, they would still need to beat Miami to get to the ACC Championship game. So it's not, depending on which Miami shows up, you never know, but it may not be the easiest route for them. But I think Pitt wins this weekend, guys, and there could be some recency bias here, but based on recent results, Georgia Tech's defense is getting worse every week. And I would have thought, maybe coming off a bye week earlier, they can't stop a run, they can't stop a pass, they can't stop a nosebleed. And I just think that team is so over-reliant on Haynes King. Maybe Haynes could have such a brilliant game that he can outscore Pitt single-handedly. He's done stuff like that before, but I just think Georgia Tech's defense is too much of a liability right now. I think Pitt is going to have enough with Desmond Reed, especially, to exploit that and probably win this game on the road.
Yeah, you want to be trending up this time of year? I tell you what, boys, the Yellow Jackets are going in the complete wrong direction. They've been somehow sneaking them out, but it doesn't matter. But here's the other thing. All eyes in both Coral Gables and in Durham are going to be on Dallas, Texas as well, because that's a critical game, right? We've got two other one-loss teams outside of Georgia Tech and Pitt. Virginia's off this week, but SMU's hosting Louisville. I'm curious if Louisville is we're kind of done, or are they look, we might not make this ACC championship, but let's go spoil things for the Mustangs. I'm really curious what's going to happen there. If we're going to get chaos, if Miami and or Duke have any hopes of making the ACC championship game, it's probably going to start with Louisville winning in Dallas on Saturday.
It would not surprise me if Louisville won, just because Louisville is now out. Because Louisville's out. If Louisville was still in the race, I mean, they ain't win. I mean, trust me, they ain't winning. But they're out of the race. The pressure's off of them. Nobody expects anything from them anymore. We don't care if they win or lose. They might actually go ahead and steal that game against SMU. But regarding this matchup with Georgia Tech and Pitt, I think the matchups honestly favor Pitt. But Georgia Tech is at home. It's probably going to be a pretty emotional game. High stakes. And in that case, I like to usually favor the home team in this one. So I'm going to take Georgia Tech. Plus, as Kenton mentioned, the football gods should be against Pitt, but not necessarily the Pitt players. I don't blame the Pitt players. It's not their fault that their head coach has a loser mentality and a loser mindset. And I got to be honest with you, I would fire Pat Narduzzi. That's what I would do. You can't go to the media and say that this game just doesn't matter. I'm sorry, you can't do it. That's inexcusable. The only way that I can forgive it is if Pitt does go to the ACC title game, they win out, and then they go to the college football playoff. Then, Pat Narduzzi, you are forgiven. But in the meantime, he deserves nothing but losses. Give me Georgia Tech.
Well, we appreciate everyone for making the squad your first listen and your first watch. Make sure you support this awesome network and check out our other shows. I host Locked On Canes and Locked On ACC with Kenton Gibbs and Jackson Holzer as well. Kenton also from Locked On Wolfpack, Jackson from Locked On Syracuse, Grayson from Locked On Wolfpack, and Isaac Shade, who not only hosts Locked On Tar Heel.
Don Pitt.
At the buzzer, we lost Dono.
At the buzzer. I'll finish up what Dono was saying there.
Yes, I hope in the college football playoff. Just so close, so close.
They pulled the plug.
But it's rigged. The Wi-Fi is rigging it.
Oh man,
we were talking about Louisville.
Yes. All right, you guys. Hey, listen, as Dono was saying, he hosts Locked On Canes, Locked On ACC. I'm also hosting Locked On College Basketball in addition to Tar Heels. We're going to see if we can get things going. My, Darian Williams. What a dude in Raleigh, North Carolina. Great stuff there. We can't wait to be back with you guys again next week as we get ready for the final week of the regular season. Going to be spectacular to see who ultimately makes that ACC championship game. All coming up next week on the show. Don't miss it. Stay locked in right here to the ACC Squad.
And remember, if you want to have the #1 podcast, just be #1.
Win your games.